In this episode, we move into a part of incident management that many new learners find interesting right away because it deals with the practical support systems people rely on when something suspicious or harmful begins to unfold. It is easy to assume that tools are the center of incident management, since dashboards, alerts, and security platforms are often the most visible parts of the work. But the real value of any tool comes from how well it supports sound judgment, coordinated action, and clear communication. A tool can help people see, organize, and investigate what is happening, yet it cannot by itself decide what matters most to the business or what trade-offs leaders are willing to accept during a crisis. That is why this topic matters so much for someone learning Certified Information Security Manager, CISM, because security leadership is not about collecting technology for its own sake, but about understanding which tools and techniques strengthen the organization's ability to detect incidents, manage response efforts, reduce confusion, and recover with greater confidence. Before we continue, a quick note. This audio course is a companion to our course companion books. The first book is about the exam and provides detailed information on how to pass it best. The second book is a Kindle-only ebook that contains 1,000 flashcards that can be used on your mobile device or Kindle. Check them both out at cyberauthor.me in the Bare Metal Study Guide series. A good starting point is to understand that incident management tools are not all doing the same job, even when they appear together in a security environment. Some tools are mainly designed to collect information. Some help identify suspicious activity. Some help organize the response process, and others help preserve evidence, coordinate communication, or automate repetitive tasks. Techniques are different from tools because they describe the methods people use to interpret information, make decisions, and move an incident forward in a disciplined way. A dashboard full of alerts may look impressive, but without effective techniques such as triage, prioritization, verification, and escalation, it can quickly become noise rather than insight. For beginners, one of the most important lessons is that tools are enablers and techniques are habits of good practice, and strong incident management happens when the organization combines both in a way that supports speed, clarity, and sound business judgment rather than just technical activity. Visibility is one of the first needs during an incident, so many incident management tools exist to help the organization observe what is happening across systems, users, devices, and networks. Log collection platforms, monitoring systems, and alerting tools help create a record of activity that can be reviewed when suspicious behavior occurs. Without visibility, a team may know that something is wrong, but have very little idea where it began, how far it spread, or whether it is still active. With better visibility, responders can often see patterns such as repeated failed sign-ins, unusual data movement, unexpected administrative actions, or system changes that occurred at the wrong time. The technique that matters here is not merely watching everything, because no team can manually inspect endless data without becoming overwhelmed. The more useful habit is learning to distinguish normal activity from meaningful deviation, which means understanding what routine operations look like so that unusual behavior can be recognized faster and interpreted in a more informed way. One of the best-known technologies in this area is Security Information and Event Management, SIEM, which helps collect, normalize, and analyze data from many different sources in one place. For beginners, the easiest way to picture SIEM is as a central system that takes scattered security-related information and turns it into something easier to review, correlate, and search. Instead of examining separate logs from individual systems one by one, the team can use a SIEM to detect patterns that would be difficult to notice in isolation, such as suspicious actions taking place across multiple systems over a short period of time. This helps incident responders move beyond isolated alerts and toward a broader view of what may be happening. The technique associated with a SIEM is correlation, which means connecting related signals so the organization can tell the difference between a single harmless event and a set of activities that together suggest a real incident. That broader context is often what turns raw data into usable security insight. Endpoint and network-focused tools also play a major role, because many incidents become visible only when security teams can observe what is happening on individual devices or across communication paths. Endpoint detection and response, EDR, tools are designed to help security teams see suspicious behavior on laptops, servers, and other endpoints, including abnormal processes, unusual file activity, or signs of unauthorized control. Network monitoring tools and intrusion detection system, IDS, capabilities focus more on traffic patterns, communications, and indicators that activity moving across the network may be hostile or abnormal. These tools matter because incidents do not all appear in the same place, and some are easier to spot from a device perspective while others are more visible from a network perspective. The technique that goes with them is comparison across viewpoints, because strong incident analysis often depends on checking whether endpoint evidence, network evidence, and user activity tell the same story or whether gaps between those views reveal something that deserves closer attention. Incident management is not only about detection, because once an issue is recognized, the organization must also manage the workflow of the response itself. This is where case management systems, ticketing platforms, and structured incident records become important. A beginner may be tempted to think of these as administrative tools rather than security tools, yet they are often essential because they create order during fast-moving situations. They help teams document what was reported, when it was reported, who was assigned, what actions were taken, what evidence was observed, what decisions were made, and whether escalation has occurred. Without that structure, people may repeat the same work, miss important details, or argue later about what actually happened and when. The technique here is disciplined documentation, which is far more than note-taking. It creates continuity across shifts, supports accountability, enables later review, and helps the organization learn from the incident after the immediate pressure has passed. Communication tools are another major part of incident management. Even though beginners sometimes focus so heavily on technical platforms that they overlook how important clear messaging becomes during an actual event. An incident often requires fast interaction among security teams, operations teams, management, legal staff, communications personnel, and sometimes external partners such as vendors, customers, or regulators. Secure messaging platforms, call trees, conference bridges, notification tools, and collaboration spaces can all support coordination if they are chosen and used carefully. The important technique is communication discipline, which means sharing timely, accurate, and relevant information without creating noise, panic, or conflicting messages. Poor communication can make a manageable incident worse by delaying decisions, spreading inaccurate assumptions, or causing different teams to act from different versions of the truth. Strong communication tools support shared awareness, but it is the technique of structured reporting, clear escalation, and audience-aware messaging that keeps the organization aligned while events are still changing. Evidence handling tools also matter because incident management often requires the organization to preserve facts, reconstruct timelines, and support investigation without damaging the integrity of what was found. This does not mean every incident turns into a formal legal case, but many incidents still require careful collection of logs, system images, records of account activity, screenshots, configuration states, or other supporting material. Beginners should understand that the value of evidence depends not only on the content itself, but also on whether the organization can show that it was gathered and stored in a reliable way. The technique associated with this area is preservation with integrity, meaning the organization tries to keep records accurate, traceable, and protected from unnecessary alteration. Good tools can help capture and store information, but the underlying discipline is what prevents later confusion about whether evidence was changed, lost, mixed with unrelated data, or documented too poorly to support confident conclusions. Threat intelligence tools can strengthen incident management by giving responders additional context about known malicious behavior, attacker tactics, and indicators associated with broader threat activity. For a beginner, the simplest way to think about threat intelligence is as organized knowledge that helps the team understand whether what they are seeing resembles known attack patterns or recognized adversary behavior. This can speed up analysis, support prioritization, and help responders avoid treating every suspicious artifact as a completely new mystery. At the same time, intelligence is only useful when it is applied thoughtfully. The key technique is contextual interpretation, because a suspicious address, file characteristic, or pattern of behavior may look serious in one environment and be much less meaningful in another. Threat intelligence should support decision-making, not replace it. Strong incident managers use it to ask better questions, connect isolated clues, and judge whether an incident might be part of a larger pattern rather than assuming every external data point automatically changes the response. Automation has become an increasingly important topic in incident management because many security environments produce more alerts and data than human teams can review manually at the speed required. Security orchestration, automation, and response (SOAR) platforms and related technologies are meant to help organize repeatable tasks such as enrichment of alerts, case creation, notification steps, or specific early response actions. For beginners, it is important to understand that automation is most valuable when it handles structured, repetitive work that would otherwise consume time and attention without requiring deep human judgment every single time. The technique here is process standardization, because automation works best when the organization already understands its workflow clearly enough to know which steps should happen consistently. If the process is poorly designed, automation can simply make poor decisions happen faster. Used wisely, automation reduces delay, improves consistency, and frees skilled responders to focus on interpretation, coordination, and business decisions that still depend on human understanding. Incident management tools are most effective when paired with analysis techniques that help responders make sense of what they are seeing rather than simply react to the loudest alert. Triage is one of the most important techniques because it helps decide what deserves immediate attention, what can wait, and what may not be an incident at all. Timeline analysis helps responders place events in sequence so they can understand how the situation developed, what happened first, and whether suspicious actions are continuing. Baselining helps the team compare current behavior to expected patterns so they can judge whether activity is truly abnormal or simply unfamiliar. Scoping helps determine how far the incident reaches by asking which users, devices, systems, datasets, or business services are actually affected. None of these are tools by themselves, yet all of them are essential techniques that make the tools useful. Without them, a team can collect huge amounts of data and still fail to understand the incident clearly enough to respond well. Another useful group of tools centers on identity, access, and data movement, because many modern incidents involve compromised accounts, misuse of privileges, or suspicious handling of sensitive information. Identity and access management (IAM) systems can help show who accessed what, when privileges changed, and whether authentication activity appears abnormal. Data loss prevention (DLP) technologies can help reveal patterns that suggest sensitive information is being moved, copied, or transmitted in ways that violate policy or indicate compromise. These tools are valuable because many security incidents are no longer limited to obvious malware or system outages. They increasingly involve legitimate credentials being used in unauthorized ways. The technique that supports these tools is behavior-focused investigation, where responders examine whether actions fit expected business purpose rather than assuming all valid logins and approved access paths are harmless. That approach helps leaders understand that incident management must pay attention not only to technical attacks, but also to misuse, abuse, and subtle forms of risk that hide inside normal-looking access patterns. A mature security program also recognizes that tools create their own risks and limitations, especially when organizations begin accumulating platforms faster than they build the processes needed to use them well. Tool sprawl can lead to overlapping functions, inconsistent data, duplicated alerts, training burdens, and response delays caused by too many disconnected screens and competing signals. A beginner might assume that more tools always mean stronger security, yet too many poorly integrated tools can make incidents harder to manage because the team spends more time switching contexts, reconciling inconsistent information, and deciding which source to trust. The technique that matters here is purposeful simplification, which means choosing tools based on clear business need, role support, integration value, and operational usefulness rather than marketing promises or fear of missing out. Good security management asks whether a tool improves visibility, coordination, and decision quality in practice. If it does not, then owning it may add complexity without adding real incident management strength. When organizations choose and use incident management tools wisely, they build a response environment that supports clarity rather than confusion. The strongest programs do not chase every new platform or expect technology to solve organizational weaknesses on its own. They focus on ensuring that detection tools provide useful visibility, workflow tools create order, communication tools support coordination, evidence tools preserve facts, intelligence tools add context, and automation tools reduce repetitive effort without removing human judgment where it still matters most. For someone new to CISM, the deeper lesson is that incident management tools and techniques must work together as part of a larger discipline of security leadership. Tools give the organization reach, speed, and perspective, while techniques provide the structured thinking needed to interpret events and guide response decisions. In the end, effective incident management is not about having the most technology, but about using the right mix of tools and techniques to help the organization detect problems earlier, respond more consistently, and make better decisions under pressure.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.